What's up, Dax?
Not much, buddy. I'm excited today. This is going to be a good
So
interview.
excited.
We've been waiting for this guy for a little bit because he's just busy. He's a busy dude, constantly getting some of the biggest photos in the entire world. I am not joking when I say the biggest photos in the entire world.
He's been crushing it lately. Jesal's a photographer based, he started in the UK and now he's in LA, but it's crazy the stories you see. It's actually since he moved to LA, I realized how much of a big deal he is because I see the photos he does. I'm like, dude, this dude is crushing it. So
I didn't realize it until I went to his Instagram and I started following him on Instagram and I'm scrolling through. I'm like, holy shit. I remember that photo. That photo was on the cover of every magazine. That photo, I helped license when I was at TMZ. He has taken so many monumental photos and he's young. He's not even old. Yeah. I feel like he's been in this industry forever, but he's a young dude.
Yeah, he's crushing it. So before we get to Jesal, Dax, do you have a review for us?
I do have a review. Got it right here. It says, Nikki Siaba said, question for Dax and Adam. I love the show. I came from TikTok account and I haven't left. I know you guys read reviews on air, so I want to ask Dax and Adam a question. If you were to set up a lunch for you, your co-host, and a celebrity, which celebrity would you invite to make it awkward as possible? Oh, that's a good question. I know who I'd pick for you.
Okay, who?
Alec Baldwin.
Oh, shit. That would be weird.
Can you imagine having to sit through lunch with Alec Baldwin?
Oh, that would be rough.
He would sit there and scowl at you the whole time. Maybe even spit on you, to be honest.
Yeah, that would be really shit. I'm actually thinking about it in my head. I can't even think about it.
You're really sweating rough. Just thinking about having to have lunch with Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, that would be really weird. Man, I think for you, it'd be someone I feel like you'd sweat it out with, be honest, I don't know. How would you feel if I put Caitlyn Jenner next to you, or would you be excited?
I mean, I think Caitlyn Jenner would be a really interesting conversation.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of someone like Lamar Odom. Someone's like, yo, you did a lot of bad stories about me.
Who would it be? I'm trying to think who I would actually feel uncomfortable around. Not any of those people.
You've had to have a celebrity
I think honestly, you know what it would have to. I think it'd be someone. I think it would have to be someone that's super fucking intelligent, and it would make me feel awkward knowing that I can't compete, I can't keep up a conversation because I know they're thinking that I'm stupid, and I would get in my head. So it'd be like having to have a conversation with Elon Musk, and I know he'd just be like, why am I at the table with this dude? And I think mentally it would fuck me in my head just thinking how dumb he must think I am.
What about Ashton Kutcher? Would that be awkward for you?
Yep, there you go. Ashton Kutcher is a good one. Yeah. Ashton Kutcher. I'd be like, hey, buddy, remember when you blocked me on Twitter? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Or remember that other time you punked me and the rest of the TMZ crew for a Pop Chips commercial? Yeah, he would be. Yeah. It would be him. He'd be awkward for sure.
That would be rough. But listen, leave a review for us. That's the best thing you do. Sports
and in a question. I mean, she left a question for us. That was kind of dope. And thanks for following us on TikTok because we're blowing up on TikTok. So it was kind of fun to see someone came from TikTok to here.
Yeah. So leave a review, 5-star only. And again, that will really support us. We really appreciate it. Dax, tell us about our guest today.
Our guest today is one of the biggest photojournalists in the world who has photographed everyone from Robert Pattinson, Keanu Reeves, Hailey Bieber, Jennifer Aniston, all the way to the royals. He's also broken some of the biggest stories on the planet. We have celebrity photographer Jesal. Welcome, Jesal.
What's up, brother? I call you brother because we are both in the same occupation. You are a photojournalist. I'm a video journalist. Do you so you like me, we both consider ourselves journalists, right? And it's weird that if someone does political news, real news per se, they're considered journalists, but because me and you do a lot of celebrity stuff, are considered paparazzis by the main public. Are you offended by the word paparazzi?
It's interesting you say that. I mean, first and foremost, I think we work in tabloid journalism, and tabloid journalism has an immense reach. It has a massive reach. I think tabloid journalism, the kind of journalism that we do, it can reach a truck driver. It can go, it can, make sense to a doctor. It can make sense to a CEO of a company. And I just think that with the amount of reach that we have, if you work in journalism, I think tabloid journalism is the place to be. But paparazzi, does that offend me? No. I mean, it's just a style, a way to obtain a picture or a story. I think that's my opinion on it. So yeah.
Why do you think there's such a stigma with paparazzi? Like, trust me, I worked at TMZ for 12 years. I have absolutely no issue. I think paparazzi is a very important part of the media cycle. People getting out there and keeping celebrities relevant and in the spotlight and in magazines and on websites. And I think that there's a lot of celebrities that also know how important paparazzi are. But why do you think there is a stigma with that word paparazzi?
Well, I think the negativity, I mean, obviously the Latin, if we didn't go down to the etymology of the word paparazzi, it goes down to the sound a mosquito makes, I think, is the Latin for paparazzi, which is the sound a mosquito makes in here. So the buzzing, the constant persistence and stuff. Now, the negativity comes from a lot of it. It's just like the same way that in any industry, you get bad police officers, you get doctors who will cheat people out of health insurance. And within the paparazzi industry, you get people who will exceed boundaries and do things which are unethical, which aren't moral. Journalists, the same thing. So I think because of that, paparazzis get a bad name. And obviously, peace be upon her, the late Princess Diana. Like a lot of hate beyond my era stems from sort of the car crash, because the paparazzi in Paris were blamed for the car crash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's start backwards and then move forwards. Who are the big stories or people you love to cover?
Well, if I'm deadly honest with you, for me, I like chasing the big stories, like the big news stories. For me, if it's not going on a front page or if it's not top story on the Daily Mail online, it doesn't interest me. It really does not interest me. So I've recently just relocated my life, switched over to Los Angeles, but I was born and bred in London. So the biggest stories in London were either political or were royal. The good thing about the royals are the reach is international, because you go into Gelson's down the road, every single magazine on the shelf has a picture of a British royal on the front cover. So not only are you in you're in your home turf, you're covering a news story, you're covering a subject that has international reach. So I love that. So I used to always, for me, the guy that I used to work with myself, our inclination was always towards the royal family, mainly because of, firstly, the reach, and secondly, public interest. It was public interest journalism. The royals were taxpayer funded. We funded their lifestyles. We paid their salaries. We paid for the buildings they live in. So I felt, as a journalist, as a news gatherer, as a paparazzi photographer, I had a right to cover that news.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's just say today, who do you decide you're going to go cover today? I mean, we've got a lot of people in the news, but right now, who is that person?
It honestly depends. It really, really depends. I was talking to a photographer I'm working with right now, and I just sowed the seed in my head. I was like, you know what, Lori Loughlin, is that how it's pronounced? Loughlin?
Loughlin, yeah.
Yeah, Lori Loughlin. She's come out from jail, and her husband recently got released. So I just sowed the seed in my head. You kind of have to look at the big news stories. I was like, a picture of her now would be good. And actually, on the way to this podcast, I'm not even lying to you, I bumped into Lori Loughlin. I swear to God. So you kind of sow the seed in your head, but you have to choose a story. I literally saw her. I actually looked to my right.
Did you get photos of her or just saw her?
No, I got pictures. The pictures are now on the Daily Mail online as we speak. So the funny, and I'm not even kidding you, I sowed the seed in my head, and I saw her, and I was like, okay, that's weird. There's a woman in her car in a big black SUV. She's wearing a mask. She's wearing sunglasses, and she's wearing a weird hat which said West Side, which is totally not her style. And I was like, all right, cool. And I was like, wait a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, rattled off 4 pictures. My camera's always on my passenger seat. And then she drove off, and then I just made sure, checked back previous pictures of her, the car and stuff like that, and I worked it out, and it was definitely her. And yeah, everyone's running the story, the Post, the Mail, the Sun, everyone's run it. So yeah, I mean, it was just something I bumped into. But sometimes you fall into stuff like that, but I like to work the story. So if the story right now, for example, Khloe Kardashian's in the news, I want to get a picture of Khloe Kardashian. If Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister's in the news, I want to get a picture of Boris Johnson. I have to do what I know will get the maximum reach. And also which I don't like taking jobs on which are not interesting to me. If I don't find the job interesting, I don't want to do it. If someone calls me and says, I don't know, one of the members of the Hills are at a restaurant, can you cover it for me? I'm not going to go. They could pay me a shift, I'm not going to go because it doesn't interest me. I have to get something that not only interests me, but also that, allows me to use my whole skill set.
So cool. So
But
interesting.
It's so hard though now, because I know from my end, and I'm sure you're the same thing. When they're wearing masks, it's hard to recognize a lot of these people. So what was the thing how'd you know it was Lori? I feel like I could never. That's a great spot. Like, I'm a very good spotter, but for Lori Loughlin to drive by me to see her, I don't know how I would be able to spot that. How are you able to?
Especially mask, sunglasses, hat. I mean, that's a full disguise right there.
Things you've got to remember, how many times do you see someone in a beautiful brand new black SUV driving on their own in a car with a mask, sunglasses, and a hat on, and in Calabasas? Like, it was so sketchy, and I was like, all right, I'm about to go to Starbucks, but that's Lori. I need to shoot this. And I shot it. Like, in my head, I was like, intuition kicked in, and I was like, I need to shoot this picture and then think afterwards. My initial reaction was, that's Lori. Straight up. Like, I was like, that's Lori. I didn't know. I've never shot her in my entire life. Like, bear in mind, I've only been here a month, and I've shot one of like the biggest showbiz pictures like so far. Like, you'll understand this, Adam, that when you work in this industry, you don't notice people unless you shoot them a few times, you watch them on TV. You have to kind of study that, and then you can understand them and spot them in the street. So that was a very random spot. It was genuinely, I was really happy with myself. I was like, shit, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's so, dude. That's so.
I was like,
it just lands in your hand like that. You're just like, oh, that's the best.
But like, I sometimes think that, like, does it always land in your hand, or is the luck calculated? Like, you have to put yourself in a certain area. You have to sow the seed you have to try and being in the right place at the right time is one thing. That's happened when you rolled up somewhere and you have bumped into the biggest picture of your life, and you'll work something for 15 days straight up and get nothing. So sometimes that happens. But today I really felt like I put myself in that area for a reason. I was working something a bit more top secret than that, which I can't reveal yet. But the funniest thing is the top secret thing I was working is not as good as Lori. So it's just crazy.
Yeah.
So what's a typical day like for you? Like, what time do you get up? What time do you start working? Do you just read through all the scenes and the websites? Like, what do you do?
If I'm deadly honest with you, I like to be an early riser. So I need to be up. I am up at 5 most days. If I go to sleep at 2 in the morning, I'm still up at 5. I like to, the worst thing about this job is health and fitness. You don't have that side to it unless you make time for it outside of the job. So if your work day is from 6 in the morning till 10 at night, you have to find a way to fit that. And so I wake up very early, 5:30 in the morning, 5, workout. And then I like to be, if I'm on a story, if I'm working, I like to be there fresh. Like, you want to be there for, like, 8 o'clock is late, 7:30, 7. In Los Angeles, you need to be somewhere at sunrise because people like going on morning hikes and stuff, which is new to me because I roll up to a dress in London, it's still dark. But you could get there at 4 p.m. and the sun still hasn't risen. So it's very new. I like to get to an address or to a venue, or if I'm working story, nice and early. And then just see how the day pans out. I like to pick one solid target or story every single day. I think that's important. You have to set yourself a goal. You need patience for that as well. So you need to obviously set yourself a goal and be ready to kind of wait it out.
So would you say Runyon Canyon is like prime spot to see celebrities out hiking?
So that probably is a prime spot. But see, the interesting thing is like, I know that a lot of the photographers here will stand outside like Boa Steakhouse, or they will kind of stand at Runyon Canyon or whatever. Like, that stuff doesn't interest me. Like, I like getting the stuff that people are too scared to work, or the stuff that requires like you putting in the time, like you put in 10 days. I like stuff like that. That stuff interests me much more than just bumping into like Cameron Diaz or shooting Justin Bieber with 16 photographers in like West Hollywood. Like, that stuff bores me. Like, I like a challenge. And the thing is, like, the stuff that you spot like that, it doesn't get much traction. If you want to hit the front pages, if you want to get the front of the post, if you want to, splash that on E! News, it needs to be something special. And that stuff won't happen. But yeah, I'm Runyon Canyon, I bumped into so many people. You see so many people. I remember when I first moved here, I bumped into like Jessica Biel on Runyon Canyon. Like, literally, like, I didn't have a camera on me annoyingly. So I just walked past and said, hi. But yeah.
So awesome.
So how do you know, they call it, I guess, doorstep. How do you know, can you say like how you know where they live, or is it just like Google is?
I honestly, this is the most interesting. In Los Angeles, like in this specific area, everything is online. Like, it's unbelievable. I was thinking to myself, oh, I wonder how do I go about researching Lori? Just for example, you just type Lori Loughlin house and her address comes up, how much it sold for. Like, everything's in the public domain. LA Times always does a story, Variety does a story on it, Complex will do a story on it, the Daily Mail will do a story on it. So like all the information you ever need is available on the internet. So when someone looks at like another journalist and says, how did they get that story? It was probably all available on the internet. There's nothing that cannot be found on the internet. You guys both know this.
Yeah, it's actually kind of scary how much is online. What's been your biggest shot so far throughout all the years, all the royal photos, everything you've done? What's your biggest shot?
I think, as I said to you, like in terms of breaking stories, the picture that really kind of, I think, excited me the most was, it was the first picture. So like I photographed Harry across the years. I photographed him with Chelsea Davy, his like girlfriend from like 3 girlfriends ago. I got the first pictures of him and Cressida Bonus as well, which is the girlfriend before Meghan. But the first picture of Meghan and Harry for me was like an iconic picture because I knew that was the woman he was going to marry. And it wasn't just about the money. Like I do this job to make a living. Obviously, you know, we all work to make a living. You guys work to make a living. But to be able to get the front page of a national newspaper and to break such a massive story for me was iconic. And that's the picture I have framed in my living room right now. It's right there above it. And I like to remind myself that when I go to work in the morning, this is the kind of work I want to achieve. So that was probably the biggest picture in terms of like for me.
How did you break that one? How'd you do that? How'd you get it?
How did I get the story?
Yeah, how'd you do that?
Like walk us through that day when you got that photo. That iconic.
If I'm honest with you, so in terms of with Meghan, like when the announcement was made that Meghan, so I live in London obviously at the time, when the announcement was made that Meghan and Harry are officially a thing, it was a great story that that a journalist in the UK broke. In my head, I was like, well, cool, this is now something I need to work on. This was maybe 8 months before I got the picture. So across that time period, I literally went to Toronto. I flew to Toronto like 4 days after the story broke. I was like, all right, cool, let's get on a plane, get to Toronto. You can't chase a story from your living room. If I'm chasing a story or working on a story, you need to be in that field. So you invest money, you invest time, you invest knowledge, you take a lot of risk. So again, I said that like it isn't just for money, it's also the ability, like, so that's why a lot of people fail, because they're not willing to go the extra mile. Like everyone will see your picture and say, oh my God, you're so lucky, you just took a picture on a camera, but they don't understand that like 8 months of work have gone into getting that picture. But so I traveled to and from. I went to Toronto a few times. I actually ended up, on that occasion I was in Toronto. Actually, one of the best sets I took of Meghan was a set of her actually going to a florist, and at the florist she literally was there. She honestly facilitated. She posed up for us. She smiled at us. Me and the other guy I was working with. And we got such a beautiful set of pictures. She talked to us. And at one point she was like telling me, she's like, oh, where are you from? I was like, I'm from London. She's like, well, you need to stop wearing that trench coat because we're in Toronto. You need to wear a puffer jacket. So it's like contrary. It was like honestly surreal. Like you think that she is, and it was very different to what I expected. So I photographed her there. Then I also photographed her. And again, you need to kind of be in these places for the chance to get the two shot. Everyone wants the two shot. And then, what was it? And then, so the time I got the picture actually, so after doing all that work, I went to India. I photographed Meghan in India. She went for some charity work. I took a risk. I flew to Mumbai. I managed to get her literally arriving at the airport. And that was the only time I didn't see her for the next 7 days. But again, with the scope of you trying to get something better. And then after doing all of that work, the way I got the first picture was very simple. Someone was at the restaurant she was at and called me. Hey, bro, I think Meghan and Harry are at this restaurant. Dropped everything. I was mid-tennis game, put my tennis racket down, was in my shorts, ran to the venue. It was Soho House in Dean Street. And I like to shoot my images without being seen, but I just stood there. She comes out and she was laughing, and I got this clean image, short and flash, nice, beautiful, of them walking towards the camera. Like I would never shoot them like that, but in that moment, it just felt like the right thing to do. And yeah, that's how it happened. It was honestly phenomenal. And I just remember the next day, front page of The Sun, and then every single paper ran it, front page the next day, double page. People ran it, TMZ ran it, everyone in the world ran it, every single country. And I was like, well, yeah, 8 months of work, but I finally just got it because my friend was having fish and chips in the restaurant. So yeah.
So is that your biggest payday for a photo essentially then too?
I mean, I honestly don't really in terms of, for me, success is defined by the payday, genuinely. I think everyone's always intrigued by, oh my God, like the questions you get are, Adam, what's the most you've got paid for a picture? Who's the most famous person you photographed? But For me, success is defined by the front pages. So I love the fact that this, for me, was my best picture because of the coverage it got and the story I was breaking.
Yeah, no, there's definitely an adrenaline to it. I don't know about you, but I get like an adrenaline to it. It's exciting. It's a rush, and I think the cool part is it's like you did it by yourself, so you kind of get like it's sort of like holy shit. Like for me, it's like I'm just a normal guy, but I'm able to make this world news and beating out like real journalists because sometimes I don't feel like a real journalist, but I am, you know. And I get what you mean, but financially, did you like a shot like that? Does that make over 25K American?
I mean, I'll explain to you one thing. I'll talk to you about something recent. So I know that the pictures of Kristen Stewart. You remember Kristen Stewart? She cheated on Robert Pattinson back in the days. I remember this. INF got the pictures. Like
yeah, I remember
absolutely
her and
cracking.
Rupert were like literally in the
cracking, oh man, yeah. Like those pictures for me like are iconic. But for example, like those pictures sold for like $175,000. Like so like. Wow. What I'm saying is like, I didn't take those pictures, by the way. What I'm saying is like, how big is a piece of string? How long is it? Like, I've had pictures sell for $1. Like, honestly, I know of sets of pictures that have sold for $500,000. And I know of set of pictures that sold this year for $100,000. Like, there is a lot of money in this industry. Now, I genuinely do believe if you go chasing money, you won't be successful in this job. You have to just chase success with stories. Like when you are working on a story, right? Like I remember like I've followed Adam's work for a while now. Well, when I say for a while, since we started talking, and I like the stuff you did with Mayweather. The Mayweather thing was phenomenal, right? Like you knew there would be a payday, but your aim in that moment was to get a good story. The payday came because it was a good story. But if you try and angle it, I find people trying to force a story. You can't force it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No,
so I like it.
Yeah, I think because we spoke before, so we both have the same mentality with it. It's a lot about the relationship that you have with the celebrity, and you're like the type of person I'm sure is like if a celebrity says to you and says, "Hey, put the camera down," you put the camera down, right?
Oh, mate, I have a number of stories like that. Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, no, there's of course you have to be. I mean, I think that you have to work with moral and integrity in this industry because people will remember. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. I was like, do you think they honestly remember and they help you out like long term, or the next time they give you the photo because you listened to them that time and put the camera down?
Do you know what? Sometimes even if they don't, I think that as long as you can go home and go to sleep happy, like I'm okay with that. Because if someone, like in my experience, so for example, like one of my memories that comes to mind straight away is like Prince Harry was drinking at some bar in Chelsea, and he comes out and he's absolutely like, he's like paralytic. He's wobbling around everywhere. He was known as the party prince. Like that was him. I've seen the party prince coming out of a place drunk, right? He comes out and he literally sees me and comes up to this and goes, "No pictures." My camera was down. We sat there for 2 minutes talking. His car was coming. I didn't take pictures. Like, "I appreciate this, man. Thank you, man." Like, and he was just saying, "Thank you for not taking my picture. I appreciate that." Like, because normally, in my head, I was thinking to myself that I'm going to be doing this job for the next 15, 20 years. He's going to see me again regardless. Like, and also in that moment as well, if someone's asking for their picture to not be taken, you have to have some level of like dignity about the way you work. And that's just me. And if people aren't like that, that's fine too. Maybe I just don't have the balls like other people. But like, I would like to go to sleep at night knowing that like the subject I've shot or the pictures I've taken have been taken with a level of integrity.
Have you ran into Meghan and Harry since they moved out here to LA?
If I'm deadly honest with you, I actually haven't been working on them. Like, I haven't really, I haven't actually attempted to, or it hasn't really interested me, because like I've worked that all my life, and I'm actually enjoying working sort of the different circuit of kind of public figures that exist in Los Angeles. But I haven't been to Santa Barbara yet. So yeah.
So, obviously you've worked the royals, you've worked Meghan and Harry for years and years. You've run into them, you've seen them. What was your opinion of the Oprah interview? Did you see that this was coming? Could you tell that this shitstorm was going to hit?
See, the funny thing, I knew you were going to ask me that question. I think that Meghan mentioned some extremely important things on that interview. She talked about very, very important issues. Now, what I find interesting is when I heard it would be an interview, I felt it would be an interview. And as a journalist, what does an interview mean? An interview is, it's even, it's balanced. It was just a conversation. it was a chat with Meghan. It wasn't actually a conversation. It wasn't a real debate. And also in journalism, I think people deserve a right to reply. So if someone makes such big sort of claims, I do believe that that people should have a right to reply. So if someone's dropping a big story about an affair or something that goes on, a newspaper or a magazine will always go to the rep and say, hey, we're going to be running this story. What are your thoughts on this? And I felt that that kind of led to, I think, discrepancies in the way the interview was interpreted. But I don't want to take away from the issues she faced and the topic she raised. And like, for example, there's a lot of the UK press will discuss how there's discrepancies in what she said, and there's clear things she said that actually were clearly false. Like, for example, she said she got married 4 days or something before the wedding, and then the Archbishop of Canterbury was asked, and he was like, no, that didn't happen. And the marriage certificate clearly says that she got married on the day she got married. So for me, it was like, what was the need to say that? Like, people were going to fact check it, and stuff like that has sadly taken away from the deep issues that she tried to push across.
Well, I have a question with that one, because I heard that story come out with the Bishop Canterbury saying that didn't happen. But do you think also, like, maybe he was going to get in trouble because he did a backyard ceremony that he shouldn't have been doing? So of course he's going to say that it didn't happen?
Yeah, it could be. These people in power, they can get away with a lot of things. But I think the legal form says in it, like the actual marriage certificate states, it says the date, which I don't remember what it was, but it says the date that was reported. So for me, it just didn't make sense to make that story up. Like, which I didn't understand why she said that. But and what's interesting is that, like, I've had to kind of like battle between, like, you know, my own thoughts, because I was like, well, as a journalist, I think that the conversation was very poorly done and done in bad taste. But the topics that Meghan raises are important and need to be addressed.
Yeah.
So, you know, to the Royals, how is it like working the Royals? Are you like nervous working them? Do they travel with a lot of security? Are they intimidating? What's the vibe like?
Like, if I'm honest with you, working on the Royals, they are with police all the time, right? So they're with metropolitan police officers, taxpayer, they're tax funded. So when they go skiing, there'll be an army of, when I say an army, a small amount of these police officers that travel with them everywhere they go. So if they're staying in a 5-star hotel, these police officers will be staying in a 5-star hotel with them, paid for by the taxpayer. So, like, they're very easy to spot. They stand out like a sore thumb. I mean, if you see an undercover police officer walking on the street in New York, you know it's an undercover police officer. They stick out, right? So they travel deep. They have guns. They have cars, like bulletproof cars and stuff. They are very discreet, but also extremely easy to see. Like, for the average, like, that's how we. Whenever I worked in London, we never used to, like, the only way we find out information would be through social media and through seeing their security just standing on the street. They were just so blatant.
Was their security, like, how is it working with their security? Is their security pretty chill? Or are they, you know, they scary?
Do they try to work with you?
We don't ever see the security, so we just see the photos of them.
Well, if I'm honest with you, I actually never talked to them. For me personally, I feel like if you are, this is another thing I believe in. If you, like, one of my favorite photographers is an old chap called Henri Cartier-Bresson, and they call him the king of candid photography. And he said that for you to take a truly candid image, you cannot be seen. Your subject cannot see you. And that goes the same for the security, in my opinion. So if I get seen by the subject of the security, then the picture I get would not be real. It would be staged. It would be fake. It would be blocked. I wouldn't get the true essence of the story. So I always try to avoid being seen by them, but also because of the protection of themselves. Because if I stood on the street with a camera and a member of the public sees me and said, oh my God, who's staying there? If they found out it's Prince Harry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, by the time he finishes the cinema, you're gonna have 100 people standing outside the cinema. So you always try to stay away. But in my experience, they were all very friendly. They were professionals. Whenever I did encounter them, and they were never aggressive. Although a lot of the time, I did feel like their main job was not to protect, like, the subjects from actual real issues. It was just to stop them being photographed, which I found interesting, which is not their job.
Wow, interesting. Yeah.
But interestingly, Harry, as a kid, he was extremely, like, he would always try and give his protection officers a slip. So he'd probably go out drinking with friends, and then he would just go out back door and, like, avoid them so he could party on into the night. So he was very, like, he had a very interesting relationship with his protection officers. And naturally, imagine as a young lad, 18, 19 years old, you know, you're going out on a pub crawl. You don't want these police officers, these 45-year-old men, like big burly men, looking over you as you're trying to talk to a girl. Kind of weird, right? So it was quite funny how he used to give him a slip when he was younger.
Yeah. So like, with the security though, do they, like, the night when Prince Harry came out wasted, was he with security that night, or was he just with his friends?
He was with his friends, but with security, and he was struggling to stand. I mean, he was a tall guy as well. He was like towering over me. I mean, I'm not that short, but he was towering over me. He's like a big guy, and he was pissed. I could smell the alcohol in him. But he was really nice. He was friendly. He wasn't rude. He's just like, not today, please. And when someone says that to you, you leave it. And the security were really understanding. They looked at me like, okay, cool. They remembered me. So that stuff, like stuff you've done like that with the security, will take effect in the future. They will remember that. If you turn up to a job, they'll be professional and say, hey, this guy last time, he was cool. Like we can let him stand back, and we can trust that he will not invade our space and our privacy, and he'll get a picture. And they do remember, in my opinion.
Yeah. So Meghan kind of mentioned it during the Oprah interview that there is a relationship between the royals and the media. Can you kind of explain that a little bit more? Because I think that's kind of a valuable thing. Like, they really value this media relationship and how they are portrayed around the world. What have you seen?
I think as any entity, there needs to be a relationship with the media. How do you push your agenda? How do you release a news story? How do we find out about someone going to an orphanage? Like, they don't go to an orphanage. A lot of time, they don't go to these charity events because they really care about them, in my opinion. They try and do it for I mean, it's a bit of both. They do it for the press, but also because they get the coverage. But there is a pack of photographers, like a press pack. They call them the Royal Rota. They travel around with the royal family. And there are certain benefits to that. They get access as long as they stay to the rules. Also, newspapers, like national newspapers in the UK, People magazine, for example, they have a royal correspondent as well. They're allowed to travel with the royal family, but they have to also stick to the agenda of the royal family. So if you go against the grain, then there are times where people have been ousted and saying, hey, you're not going to come on this tour now. So there have been cases of where people have been kind of told this, and if you go against this kind of rule, you know, you're not going to be able to come on this royal tour with us. So that does happen. There is a lot of control of the press, and like the palace would throw their toys out the pram if you run a story or a set of pictures goes out that doesn't work in their favor. And the same with stories.
Have you ever?
So a lot of the sorry,
go ahead.
No, I wasn't saying anything.
No. I was just, listening to that, and I'm curious if you've ever, like, you said you spoke with Meghan that one time, but have you ever had like a conversation? Like you said, you spoke to Harry, but like, do you feel that there's actually like a relationship that you have with these people?
I don't think I have a relationship with these people, but when Meghan talked about the press and stuff like that, and Harry talks about the press, like in my personal experience, it wasn't like that. Like, every time I photographed Meghan, she's laughed, she said hello, she smiled. And that day in Toronto, she talked about me wearing a better jacket and stuff like that. Is that someone who doesn't like the press? And the funny thing about that actually is that like Meghan has also posed with paparazzi. I've actually seen images of her posing and standing next to paparazzi. I can even show you a picture afterwards. She's got the photographer's got her arm around. He might have his arm around it. He's standing right next to her. I remember the picture vividly. I remember the name of the photographer. Meghan also used to organize setups where she would ask an agency, hey, I'm going to be turning up to a restaurant or an event. Can you photograph me coming in? So she herself had a relationship with the press before she got into a relationship with Harry. So I feel like she, knew how to manipulate and use the media in her favor previous to being in a relationship with Harry. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty normal though, right? I think both of you guys have shot people over the years, I'm sure, that have called you up and said, hey, I'm going to be so-and-so. That's a normal thing that I don't think the general public realizes, that celebrities do that to stay relevant, correct?
But
do you think it's interesting how you can at one point do that in your career, and then it's not like a tap, you just turn it off. All right, guys, I've got to where I need to be now. I don't want anything now of me. I want to be able to control the press. And I find that interesting. Like, there's been no acknowledgement of the fact that the press was used to push the agenda, to help, to raise profile. Like, when I was photographing Toronto, she was really accommodating. Now, that's not the same person I saw in the interview saying that, like, the tabloids were vicious and the press and blah, 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 blah. Like, that was totally different to the Meghan that I saw.
But I think that's a different level, though. Like, that's pre being just bashed by the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's one point in your career where you're like, oh, this is exciting. I'm becoming famous. I'm enjoying this. And then there's another side where you've become so oversaturated and the world is turned against you. And you're like, I don't want this anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand how, it could be quite intense. But I also think that, like, there was a lot of dramatization of the headlines. A lot of the headlines were doctored for the CBS. Is it CBS?
It was on,
Maybe
it was on CBS, yeah.
But yeah, so there were like a lot of headlines that had been doctored and things had been edited and stuff like that. But I do think that Meghan, did face a lot of, negativity. But, that was, I think any celebrity, unfortunately, on the public stage faces a lot of negativity. Whether you're Chrissy Teigen, whether you're John Legend, whether you're Cameron Diaz, whether you're Kristen Stewart, everyone faces some form of negativity, which is really sad that still exists.
Has Meghan tipped off photographers since she's been with Harry?
I'm gonna have to say no comment.
Yeah.
No comment. Well, that's not a no.
I'm just gonna have to say no comment.
Gotcha.
That's actually really interesting. All right, I'm gonna say that says a lot.
How?
Yeah, I'll let you boys interpret that as you wish, but I can't say it's a categorical no, and I can't say it's a categorical yes.
Okay.
How is it working, Kate Middleton?
So Kate is I mean, again, if you look at like the kind of, Kate was great. She was fun to work. She would always be out and about. I often would be driving down the King's Road and you just see her shopping. Like you would see her just literally walking down the road shopping. She was very, very, very hands-on, very chilled out, and very discreet. And yeah, very pleasant. She'd always say hello, hi. If you photographed her, she'd say, hey Kate, how's it going? She'd always say, I'm good, thanks. And it would be very pleasant. She was always very, very fun to work with. When I say work with, I mean, I just shot pictures of her. I wasn't working with her, but yeah.
Does like, I never worked. I've only worked in New York City. I don't know the UK. I really don't know LA. Do people try to do video interviews with her? Like, hey, and try to do like a no? Or can you not?
That style of journalism never existed in the UK. So that TMZ style, like, hey, Lindsay, what are you wearing today? Like, that kind of stuff. Like that stuff doesn't exist ever. Like in the UK, it's very much like keep your distance. You stay on a long lens. Like there is no conversation. And if it's a conversation, it'd be like, hey, how's it going? Have a great day. Like there was never ever any video. And the video resurgence came sort of when Splash News, they kind of came over to the UK and the video market was very big in America and it slowly started to open up. But at no point was there any sort of video interviews like candid like that. But that could have been a great market. I mean, that was untapped, to be honest with you.
Yeah. You broke a huge story though with Kate Middleton. Is that correct?
That's one of my
can you tell us that story?
So yeah, I mean, it was, again, as I said, I like to chase the big stories, but a lot of the time on these big stories, you're going to have, media outlets from international, every single country in the world. And it was actually the birth of Prince George. So she was pregnant. She was pregnant at the time. So everybody kind of had a rough due date as to when she was going to be pregnant. So every single country had a photographer there, a videographer there. I'm talking hundreds of people. They set up like kind of ladders, and it was at the front of this hospital. I mean, people who were in that hospital actually giving birth at the time were like, why are there people outside this hospital? But the speculation was there, the hype was there, the build-up was there, and it was like every TV channel was running it constantly. And it'd be from morning till night. I'm talking 24 hours. It'd be a 12-hour shift, 12-hour shift, and they would swap over constantly. And it was for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, people got lazy. They're like, all right, cool. This woman's not coming into labor. Like, is she even pregnant? And I, at the time, was like, all right, cool. Well, I remember reading a story in a newspaper that Princess Diana, this is going to sound so like idealistic, but Princess Diana gave birth to Prince William on a full moon. 2 weeks into it, it was a full moon. So I was working with another chap, a South African chap, really good guy. And we were like, why don't we just give this a go? It's going to be full moon today. Let's give it a go. And then we looked online and we saw there was pictures of Diana going in the back door of the Lindo wing, the same hospital where Kate gave birth. I was like, the royals are creatures of habit. They do the same things. I go, let us just do on the work one night only. Full moon night, we will stand at the back of the hospital, and I have a feeling that Kate's going to arrive at the hospital. And we waited from 8 at night, and at 5 in the morning, like as I discussed in my head and thought about the plan, how it worked out, Kate Middleton arrives at the hospital with her security, with her cars, And I'm there. I'm waiting there with the camera. And Kate is honestly, she is distressed. She's a woman in labor, head was down, and she asked to not take a picture. I literally, even though I'd been waiting there from 5 in the morning, from 8 at night to 5 in the morning, put my camera down and said, Kate, good luck. And that's it. She went in the hospital. Then after that, I was like, as a journalist, like, did I need to take a picture of her there? Or what was the story there? A picture of a crying woman going to labor? Of course not. Let her go into hospital. She's about to do one of the most important things of her life. That's a future king she's giving birth to. So me and the other photographer took pictures of security. We took pictures of the cars. We took pictures of the scene. And then I tweeted it saying, exclusive, the Duchess of Cambridge has just gone into labor, and it blew up. Like, the pictures ran everywhere. They got used in the same way it would have sold if I took pictures of her. The story went everywhere. And I feel like that was remembered. And there's a lot of people who mention stuff like paparazzi photographers, like this guy here chose to not take the picture. And I feel like that has shaped a lot of my future work that has come to me. So yeah, it was pretty good.
That's a really fascinating story behind the scenes. So, and I think you really did do the right thing, because you're right. Like, that's not really the moment a woman wants to like have her picture taken, as if in labor is not an easy thing by any means.
I mean, us three will never have to go through it. So, and I think in that moment, I felt happy about what I had achieved. And I just felt like, as a journalist, I felt like you have to be very honest sometimes in a dishonest world at times. And yeah, that's it really.
Do you think they want the attention, the paparazzi attention? The royals?
People? Celebs?
The royals.
I don't know if I think they have benefited from photography in general, like candid news stories. Like a lot of time they'll be like, oh, somehow there's a picture. For example, recently there was a picture of Kate going to a vigil. She went to a vigil for, there was a lady that sadly went missing, and she was found murdered. And Kate went to the vigil to like kind of lay a wreath. But somehow a photographer got images. Like, you know, somehow the images syndicate to the press. So the press is used to its advantage, you know, as and when it works for them, I feel.
So can we talk about your Instagram for a minute? Because you have one of the most fascinating Instagrams, because you post up the amazing photos that you've taken throughout the years. And some of the photos that caught my attention were of Amy Winehouse, because
oh my God, yeah.
And I remember working at TMZ when it was like days of Amy Winehouse, when she was out every night, crawling under gates and in her little slippers, and like it was just, she was fascinating to follow. What was it like being around Amy Winehouse in her heyday?
See, the thing is with Amy Winehouse, I only shot her a number of times, but my pictures I got, honestly, like, I don't know if you saw the one of her in the car and she's just sitting and she's looking at the camera. That's one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken. My memory of Amy Winehouse was that she was very kind, she was very friendly, she was very understanding, and she just had an aura about her, but she was extremely talented. She had great intuition. Yeah, she was just a great presence, and she was just very lively. In my experience of photography, yeah. And I actually saw her live a few times. I saw her do an intimate gig in a pub. So she used to go to her pub called the Hawley Arms in Camden, just under the Camden Lock sign. And I was lucky enough to see her do a gig. I didn't even take pictures. I watched it, and to this day, it's like grained in my memory. Phenomenal voice. Like, it was acoustic without a microphone. Phenomenal.
So cool. I love these old stories. And so
yeah. I mean, again, I recommend people follow his Instagram. It's
used by Jeff.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
You just did a recent photo with the star Bridgerton. It's
Reggie.
Reggie.
Well, Reggae Jean Page, right? He's French. Yeah.
Say his name properly. But.
I say Reggie. I say Reggie because I feel like he's like French, but he could be reggae. I don't know. But that, again, see, that's a prime example right there. Like, the sell-by date on a picture is 24 hours sometimes, right? The story broke that he was not going to be in Bridgerton. So I found the story out. I decided I had an address that was on file. It was literally available on public record online. This sounds so fake. It sounds made up. I was in like Hollywood. I drove all the way to Manhattan Beach, and I pulled up at this house. I see an Escalade parked at the side. I just went straight to the side, and within about 6 seconds, he came out and walked into the Escalade, and that was it. That was done. I didn't even sit there. This was at 5 p.m. in the evening. So I was like, well, I think it's a really good picture to get. It happened like that straight away. And that was it. I left him. I didn't, that's it. It was done in that moment. And the picture ran everywhere. It was a very good news picture. But then the sell by date of that image is 24 hours. After 24 hours, every paper, online, magazine, TV has run it, and then the image is almost forgotten.
It's funny the amount of stories or situations you've told us about today where it's like just you're in the right place at the right time. And I don't know if, like you said, your intuition or what it is, but man, you're in the right places.
Yeah, I think it's calculated luck. You have to position yourself, you have to work hard, but if you're in the right area, and also like when you do research, you kind of know where you need to be. You understand? So like with the royal family, for example, it was like they were creatures of habit. They would hunt certain animals at certain times of the year. So you knew in September they would be in Norfolk shooting pheasants. So you knew they'd be in Norfolk at that time, and they would hunt every weekend. So like you have to put yourself in the position by doing your research and understanding. But yeah, sometimes it's just sheer luck. Seriously, it's just sheer luck. You could have the best camera, you could have the best information, but honestly, someone at McDonald's will take a picture of someone on their mobile phone, and that will run everywhere. Like, it really is as simple as that. It's a lot of time down to luck.
So you also got Matthew Perry and his new fiance, which I know you kind of worked on that for a while. Can you tell us how that kind of shot came about?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just I honestly just again like I was actually working on another story, and he just drove past me. So he just drove past me in a certain area of Los Angeles. So what I did is I did my research. I kind of worked out the nearest property available online that was associated to him. I took a guess. I went to the place he was staying at, and I just waited it out. I waited. It was about a 5-day stakeout, and in the end, he just walked out, and I got the picture. It was very, very simple from start to finish. But like the journey to that was again luck. But you have to still kind of do your research and work it out. But it was a long stakeout. 5 days for me, I was pulling my hair out. I mean, I'm already going bald, but it's pretty tough just to stare at a garage door or to stare at a front door for like 5 days straight. The second you could take your eye off that door, and you could lose tens of thousands of dollars just by going on your phone, scrolling Instagram. So you need to be constantly on it. But like the one thing I always say to people, everyone's like, oh, you just take a picture on your camera. I feel like photography or the videography side of it is 10% of the job. 90% of the job is right place, right time, research, the journalistic, investigative side of things. But if your camera settings aren't on point, you aren't making the money. So that 90% of work will go to waste.
So actually, some people could say, you know, again, and I've been told this before, they always say, who are you stalking? Or you're a stalker. How do you respond to when people think or say you're a stalker?
Someone said that to me today, like, oh, who are you creeping on today? I'm like, well, I always just give them stories of the times I've shot celebrities. And there was actually one celebrity I shot, I can't even say the name, it's gonna sound so, I actually can't. But I shot this public figure, American, A-list, now A-list, then wasn't, part of a very big family. I think you guys may be able to guess who it is. Maybe reality TV stuff. I'm not gonna say anything, that's it.
It's Kim, it's okay.
No, it's not Kim, but anyway, the point is I was shooting someone maybe related somehow, who knows? But
okay.
It was when they were like sort of 18, 19 years old. They came to London, and I was asked, she's wearing a certain outfit, you need to come and shoot at the airport. I got there, I was like, this person isn't even famous, but you know what? She might be something in the future. I shot her at the airport, and the images, so the assistant's like, oh, we need to do this again. I was like, why? They go, they're too clean. I was like, what do you mean by that? We need to do them again, but she has to act like you're not, like, she needs to act like, you know, like this, like to pretend that she doesn't want the images, otherwise it looks too easy. And I was like, I've just traveled an hour in traffic to come and shoot some pictures. I haven't come this far to shoot someone's hand over this. We did the pictures again, and her hand was over on her face, and they ran the images. So they ran the images, they mentioned the outfit, but they didn't go many places because it didn't look like a nice picture, and it was to give the illusion of the fact that it was a candid, snatched pat picture when it was actually set up. And it's like crazy how stuff like that happens, or when an image is shot on the beach, you have to sharpen the image to make it more grainy because it needs to look like it was taken in a sneaky way, when half the time it's never sneaky. It's always taken with the consent. You ask. So yeah, like I always ask when I go, if you think it's sneaky, I mean, a lot of the time, 70% of the time I'm working with the celebrity. You're working with them. You're directly talking to them on the phone. You're messaging them on WhatsApp saying, hey, do you like the image? No, you need to delete that off the set.
I know that there has been a lot of setups through the Kardashians through the years, but it's like they are the queens of media. So like they have made every right decision that needs to be made to put themselves into the status above everyone else from being reality stars. You know what I'm saying? Like they could write a playbook on how to be the most famous people in the world because they've done all the right moves. So it's like I can't even knock them. I'm like, if that worked for them, good for them. It's amazing.
To a T. I mean, Kim is an absolute genius. Like Kris Jenner will say, okay, cool. You want to take pictures of us? All right, we can take these beach setups on a beach. Yeah, and we want 90% of the sales.
We want 90% of the sales, and we need you to Photoshop out any anything that we don't want to look good.
and these beach sets of Kim were selling for 250 grand. Like they were selling for big money, and they would keep 90% of that. So Kim's like, well, not only can I promote myself, promote my products, I also get to keep a nice whack as well. I can pay for some, I don't know, pay for like a day on a yacht or something like that. Like that was
not even that. She's just staying down at Joe Francis's house in Mexico. So it's all free. Like she's getting paid to go walk around in a bikini. It's unbelievable. I mean, I really like, they're so damn smart. The whole thing. Like, you cannot knock them. People knock them all the time. I'm like, you don't get it, guys. Like these women are brilliant.
She's played a blinder. She's played an absolute blinder. She's turned her career around. I mean, from how she got famous to where she is now, she is arguably one of the most famous women in the world.
Yep.
How do journalists, photojournalists, how do you guys find out, and us, I mean, but how do people find out the airport situation? How do you find out who's on the flights?
I rarely get information. I think what happens is that a lot of stuff, for example, information for me came through call-ins. So newspapers like The Sun, the Mail will be like, hey, we've just had a call-in, XYZ's on a plane. Like it's as simple as that. Like someone's called in and said that information. But a lot of the time it's through Twitter, Instagram, social media. You've got like, you guys spoke to the lovely lady from Des Moines, and you see that stuff. People are like constantly sending stuff in. Like they're sitting there having their anniversary dinner, and they're like, oh shit, I need to text Des Moines and say that Jennifer Aniston's on the table next to me. You know, like people are just willing to share that information. So a lot of the information, again, is out there on the internet. If you just type in Cameron Diaz restaurant on Twitter, I guarantee there'll be Cameron just sat next to Cameron Diaz at Sushi Time in Sherman Oaks or something like that. You know, like it will just come up. Like, and that's a lot of the information happens like that. A lot of the stuff we got back in the days of Harry and stuff was just sat next to Harry in a pub. I would tweet them back saying, which pub? The Sands End in Fulham. Cool, I'll be there. Like, it's as simple as that. It's so simple.
Wow. I know that Justin Bieber's had a very storied relationship with paparazzi. You know, some good, some bad. Do you have any good, fun stories about the Biebs?
Justin Bieber. You know what? I've actually only photographed him a few times, but he's been really pleasant. He only comes to UK for promo work. Promo work in the UK consists of you going into a building and walking out. Very, very simple. He was always very nice. I think the paparazzi in the UK are very friendly with him because they never see him. Whereas in LA, it's a bit different. People see him every single day. They probably know each other on a first name basis. But yeah, I mean, I actually photographed Hailey Bieber the other day. So I actually photographed Hailey Bieber, and she was on a beach walking her dog in this very colorful outfit, and she was there on a photo shoot. So I just made myself aware to her. I was like, Hailey, I'm a photographer. I'm here. I just literally saw you as I was driving by. Is it okay if I take a few pictures? And she's like, yeah, cool. She walked towards me, literally like a runway, I shot the pictures, and I left it. So they're very accommodating. They're very understanding, and they play like Justin and Hailey, for example, like those kind of like ilk of celebrity really, really play the media to their advantage.
Yeah,
how's Robert Pattinson?
Robert Pattinson, he's fine. He is very, very low key. In my opinion, Robert Pattinson always knows that you're there when you're photographing him. He just doesn't want to talk to you or doesn't want to kind of you to be seen, but he knows it exists. So he's very, very, very low key. I photographed him with Kristen Stewart. I photographed him with Suki Waterhouse recently. Over lockdown, like that was what kept me busy, shooting Robert Pattinson, because it was just such a nice, fun pitch to get, but also had such good coverage because he's in Batman. But it's not Robert Pattinson you have to worry about. It's the fans.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna ask you about the Beckhams, because I've talked to other Paps who have said they're nasty to the Paps. What's your experience been like with?
I always avoid shooting the Beckhams because of that one reason. But my last experience was I was shooting Brooklyn. So I've started, like, I try and skate every now and then. I'm terrible. I can't skate at all. I can use a longboard, but I like to go to the skate park sometimes. And there's one in Notting Hill, which is right by where the Beckhams live. He was there. He was there with Nicola. Someone interesting. I'm gonna get a set of pictures. Got a beautiful set of pictures. And then he comes out and, like, all guns blazing, Brooklyn Beckham, this small kid, like he's about, what, I don't know, 18 years old. He's married now with 2 kids apparently, and like he literally runs at me. He's like, "What are you doing, mate? What are you doing, man?" He starts screaming, effing and blinding and stuff. I'm like, "Listen, bro, I'm gonna leave right now." Like they are very, very protective. They do not like the press. Like they do not like the paparazzi in general. So the Beckhams are always really hard to shoot, and I try and avoid them because of that one reason. Like I've heard experiences of Beckham kicking sand at photographers on a beach. Like I've heard stuff of him like trying to drive at photographers when he's driving and stuff like that. He's like apparently like extremely crazy when he drives and stuff. So yeah, I'm not about that.
Because he's literally like one of the most famous people in the entire world. You would think that it's almost like you're used to it at this point, because we see the people like Brad and Angelina and Oprah. They're so famous and they're used to it because it just comes with the job.
I mean, I saw Adam
like on another level, and I'm surprised he hates it so much.
Well, I've seen Adam pulling up interviews with Oprah. I think to myself, that is like Beckham and Oprah, A plus list. And then you've got people like Beckham, like who I don't know, sometimes are just too big for their boots. I've seen him like when he was with fans and stuff. He just like will avoid being seen. One of the interesting Beckham that I've seen Beckham do this. I had a tip that Beckham was at SoulCycle in the UK. It was like, it's Barry's boot camp in the UK. So he didn't know I was there. I was like across the road, like normal. Beckham walked out of Barry's boot camp backwards. And then he walked backwards in another direction to his car with his face against the wall so that in case somebody was there, he can't get a picture. Now that is a commitment. It was hilarious. And then me and the guy I was with was like, you know what we should do? We should just take a video of him next time and just put some funny music to it and just put it online. It'd be hilarious because it is so funny. Like it's like it was crazy. I saw it and I thought that was very interesting.
What a weird, like, think about that though. Like, what a weird way to live your life that you come out of doing whatever and you have to walk out backwards just in case there's someone there.
But
like,
there's
people with you are going to be like, what the fuck is he doing?
To be honest, I just think it's David Beckham and whatever he does is cool, right? So he can walk backwards. He can crawl on his feet, and I think, you know what, it's David Beckham. It's still pretty cool.
Yeah. Awesome. How about Harry Styles? How's Harry Styles?
Harry Styles, I mean, so when one of the good things about where I used to live when I was in London, I was right by the X Factor studios. So what I would do is I'd work on my stories, but I would always shoot the X Factor because it was massive. They would like print that every single day. Like when X Factor was good, like back in the days, they would run it. So when One Direction were there, we were the first people to photograph them. Like if you look on my Instagram, you see like pictures of them as babies, 16, 17, like not a single beard on their, like hair on their face, like no beard. And they were so nice. They still are. They were lovely. There was times where they'd be at the studio, we'd be playing football with the One Direction was like, we can't be bothered to go to studio right now. The next time we're having football with them, eating pizza with them. Like it was brilliant. And growing like across the whole time, they were always so nice. Even now, if like, you know, Louis Tomlinson pulls up and like, yo, Jesal, like, he would know who we are, would shake our hands, say hello to us. Like they understood that we were so big in their kind of initial rights. They used, like One Direction definitely used the paparazzi and the media to their advantage. But yeah, they were really interesting. It's, again, the fans, the One Direction fans, they were the ones you had to worry about.
Do you mind if we play a quick speed round with you? We love playing this with photographers, paparazzi, celebrities. We'll just name, throw something out and you just say the quickest name that comes to your brain.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, Adam, you want to start our speed round?
Sure. Nicest celebrity.
Harry Styles.
How about the meanest celebrity?
Tom Hardy.
Okay.
Scariest looking celebrity.
Prince Andrew.
What about the best looking celeb?
Subjective. It changes seasonally. I will just go with, keep it plain simple, Angelina Jolie.
Okay. Biggest entourage.
Oh, Drake. Oh my God. I photographed him the other day. Drake came on a jumbo jet with 30 people. A jumbo jet and 50 people, I think. A jumbo jet, an actual massive jumbo jet.
When you own your own plane, it makes it easy. Right?
Ridiculous. I was
Everyone
like,
on.
Yeah.
All right. What about who has like the scariest security around them?
Oh, it's got to be, it had to be Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp security was ruthless back in the days. Scary.
Okay.
Funniest celebrity.
Funny celebrity. I would say James Corden.
Oh, I love James Corden. He's so
James
funny.
Corden. He's a brilliant guy. We once photographed him in a petrol station. We were photographing. He came out and gave us some chocolate bars. Such a nice guy. He's just a funny, nice guy. Genuinely, as he is on the TV.
He really is cool. What about someone that like you thought was going to be a total dick and turned out to be awesome?
Probably like Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK. I just thought he'd be stuck up, and he was actually really nice.
Okay. The celebrity that is fakest from what the media portrays him.
These questions can't be quick fire. You know, they have to actually put some thought into them. Fakest.
And Adam, do you mean like
the phoniest? Like they're not like
they're not really like how we see them,
exactly.
Like Paris Hilton kind of thing.
Not even like that. Like someone we think is like, oh, everyone thinks they're the nicest person out there, and like, no, they're a phony. They're actually sort of a.
Okay.
Do you know what? Like, I feel like that's a very hard question to answer. To be honest, I actually don't know. I can't give you an answer to that. I'm sorry. I'm not being political.
No, are there any celebs that act like they don't like paparazzi, but you can kind of tell that they actually do?
I think all of them, if I'm honest with you, seriously. Like, I feel like there are people, even if they don't like them, they have liked them at some point in their life.
Okay.
How often do celebrities DM you?
Often. Like, if you take a picture of someone, they'll always say, like, even if you take a picture of them without them knowing, like, oh my God, I love this picture. Can I put it on my Instagram? Like, it happens all the time.
Who's the biggest celebs posted one of your photos on their IG?
Kim Kardashian. Kim did a picture I shot of her in Paris. She ran it on her Instagram, yeah. And she paid for it too.
And then what is, well, I guess we kind of covered this one, so never mind. I'm going to move on to the next question. Who is the coolest and most understanding celeb out there when it comes to pop?
So you just cut out there. You just cut out the...
I said, who's like the coolest, most understanding celeb out there that understands your gig as being a paparazzi?
I would say there is a few of them, but like I think that like someone like Rita Ora, she's very understanding. She's always very friendly. She'll also give us like a good picture, wear a nice outfit, make sure we get the best picture. She's pretty cool.
And then the last, who is the nicest to the fans? Or their fans?
Do you know what? The One Direction guys are honestly phenomenal. Like I remember they would get stormed. There'd be like hundreds of girls, and they would take pictures of every single one. Also, Taylor Swift early on. Taylor Swift, Jesus Christ, she would spend like 45 minutes outside a hotel and just take pictures with fans.
You know who else I think is amazing is Shawn Mendes. That guy will literally have his fans line up in a single file line, and they'll do it, and then he'll just go down the line. Picture, autograph, picture. It's unbelievable.
That side of the celebrity's job, I find to be the craziest. It must be extremely tough. People coming up to you in the street, taking selfies, like it's just constant for them. They can't even turn off. They could be sleeping on a plane and worrying about someone trying to sort of touch them and say hello to them. You know?
Yeah, it is nuts.
How are the Royals, by the way, with selfies? If a fan comes up to them or someone on the street says, "Hey, can I get a photo?" Were they good about selfies?
I think at a lot of public events, some of the best pictures are like these weird angle. You know, like you know when your parents take a selfie, it's from that angle. There's like pictures of Kate Middleton with like a member of public taking her as a selfie. They do it at the public events, but again, security and stuff, they're very sketchy about it. But some of the best pictures are taken by those like people standing on the sides at cinemas and stuff, like on mobile phones, just like Kate and stuff, because they get up close and personal.
It's so interesting. You know, I was thinking while you were talking, did you ever notice yourself any tension between members of the royal family? Because the reason I ask is I watched The Crown recently, and I don't know if you've watched it or not, but I felt like they portray a lot of tension between members of the royal family, like at all times. So I'm just curious if you ever saw that in public, if anything ever kind of crept out that you were like, oh, that was weird, that they didn't seem like they were having a good day together.
I don't know. I've seen little bits here and there. Like you just see, like you see articles of people looking at interviews and they analyze like language, body language, and facial gestures and stuff. There's been times where I remember once I photographed Kate and William at a restaurant. It was like a romantic dinner, a friend's dinner, and they were at this restaurant. And when they come out, it's like there's no one there. Like there's absolutely no one there. All it was just it was an empty street. I was a photographer very far away on a long lens, 400 mil, and they come out, And William opens the door to the car and gets in on his own. And then Kate's just standing there. And like, then she gets in the car. And I was like, that's a bit weird. You wouldn't open the door for your wife, or you'd at least like open the door and close it for her. I found that to be quite weird. You've seen small instances like that where you see, so that I remember once as well, there was an incident where like Harry was like calling security. He was like this, clicking like that. And I found that to be kind of disrespectful too. Like, so you see these kind of small things which they would never portray in the public, or you can catch in a candid basis.
What's been the scariest celebrity encounter you've had?
Scariest encounter probably would be when I've been shooting the Royals. So like, I remember like I went and once I shot the Boxing Day shoot. So after Christmas Day is Boxing Day in the UK. So the Royals go out shooting pheasant. Now, like just the fact that the Royals have guns and they're like shooting animals, like if you're standing really far away on a long lens, I'm not saying they would never shoot you obviously, but like just being in the presence of people shooting guns and like members of the royal family, security, was very, very overwhelming and quite a scary experience actually. That was quite a tough one.
Yeah, I gotta imagine that one's not an easy thing, because you're like, one person mistaking me for an animal in the bush is not going to go very well.
Oh, was that an animal? Was that slip to the left? Whoops, sorry, my hand slipped.
Yeah. So now that you know, obviously you worked in the UK for years and years and years. Now you're here in LA. How do they compare? Like, how does LA compare to the UK?
I actually find that the reach of everybody you shoot in Los Angeles is much higher than that of the UK. So in the UK, you might have someone who's only got the UK newspapers, whereas anyone you really shoot in America will sell in France, Italy, Spain, Germany, UK, Australia. Like if you shoot a picture of Brad Pitt, it's going to make in every country around the world. So I like the aspect of that. Like even if you get a picture that's exclusive, all around it will still make you, good money all around the world. But also you can work some of the best showbiz stories. I remember, I think the first day I worked in Los Angeles, the first day, which was about a month ago, I got a picture of, with another photographer, we got a picture of Kim Kardashian without her wedding ring. And she was at dinner. And it ran front page of The Sun, which is a UK newspaper. And I found that to be amazing that I'm in this country. And it was actually quite interesting. On half the page, it was Kim Kardashian. And then the front page main story was Tiger Woods. Both stories from Los Angeles on the front page of a UK newspaper. So you can just see that this is probably the right city to be in, to be working in this form of tabloid journalism.
I remember seeing that photo. I was like, oh, that's a great. She was at a restaurant in like some tight dress. I remember seeing that one.
It was so weird. She just gave like Kim Kardashian in this day and age is very hard to shoot. You don't see her. She doesn't go out. She came to that restaurant. I mean, I had information that she was going to be coming there, and she got out the car. She stood there for about 10 seconds, moved, flicked her hair, made sure we saw the ring, looked at us, flicked her hair again. And then she could have gone in the restaurant this way and we would have got the back of her. She went the long way around the restaurant, went out, and because it was outdoor dining, she walked through the middle of the restaurant during COVID without a mask and gave us this picture. Like she wanted us to get the picture, which is typical Kim Kardashian. It was Matsi Sushi or something. It was a sushi restaurant in that's the one in Beverly Hills. Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting. It was one of my first kind of experiences, and like she was just giving it up. It was like, honestly, it was like a photo call for her. She knew what she was doing. She knew where to stand, and she gave it up perfectly. And like clockwork, the story ran everywhere. Typical Kim Kardashian, controlling her narrative.
Queen of the media. I keep saying it. Queen of the media.
So let me ask you this. Now that you're in LA, if someone wants to go to LA and find a celebrity, where do you suggest someone goes?
Do you know all these tour companies, you got these buses and stuff. They got TMZ bus tours and stuff. You'll be working on a celebrity and this bus comes past. This is Justin Timberlake's house. You think to yourself, that is crazy how that even exists. Like the celebrities truly don't even have privacy here, because you're going to be on a tour bus and then a car will be going past with a group of 16 tourists. They'll be taking pictures of your house. So like the best place to probably see celebrities would be like just generally like Hollywood, West Hollywood, go down to Melrose and that kind of main area by like where Beverly Hills is, like the Beverly Center. They're just walking around constantly. You bump into people. They're living there. When these celebrities go to other countries, they're doing their work. When they're in Los Angeles, they're going to Ralph's. They're going to Walmart. They're going to SoulCycle. They're just living their lives normally. You will bump into, I don't know a single person in Los Angeles who's not bumped into celebrity. Everyone bumps into somebody.
Well, now
it's definitely not at Hollywood and Vine. Like I'll tell you that, or at the Grauman's Theater where all the tourists come and they think they're going to see celebs. They're not there next to their handprints. I'll tell you that.
They're definitely not there. Yeah. But you go down to Los Feliz, and you go down to like Cubel or something like that, and like they're just there constantly, right down Beachwood, any of those cafes. It's just their regular Gelson's on on Franklin. Like you bump into Charlize Theron there. Like I've been here for a month and a half, and I bumped into her twice. Like at the same Gelson's. So like it's just normal here. It's just the way the culture is.
Yeah. Who's the person that you feel like you've seen the most, that you've bumped into the most?
Who have I bumped into the most? Do you know what? I've actually bumped into I bumped into Ashley Benson a lot. She lives around the corner from me. So I see Ashley Benson at the same gas station. I just see her like, oh, it's Ashley Benson. Like every time I see her there, like the same gas station. I actually get out and say hello to her and photograph her, and she's proper cool. But like I just see her at the same gas. It's like the same gas station. If I was going to fill up gas and she was going to fill up gas, or anyone in the area is fill up gas, you have to go there. It's also the cheapest fuel in like a 5-mile radius, which is important.
So fascinating talking to you, buddy. I appreciate you making time, because I know you've been extremely busy since moving to the U.S. and you've got a busy job, whether people want to debate that or not. I think you have a very busy job sitting out there and taking some of the best photos that the world is appreciating, because that's the other part of it that I think perhaps don't get the credit for, is everyone loves the photos. Sometimes they act like they don't love the job, but everyone loves the photos, right? Like, let's be honest. And so I know, like I said, you've been busy, and I appreciate you taking some time and hanging out with us for the last hour.
Appreciate you guys for inviting me to jump on, man. It was good fun. It's gone quickly, and I was gone very quickly.
Make sure you follow his Instagram. It's fantastic. It's Views, Views by Jesal. It's his stories are great. It's kind of, you follow his journey, and it's like some of the biggest photos you see every day. It's shot by this guy because he focuses on the exclusive, and he does it in a good way, and I think
appreciate that, guys.
I think a lot of people, we kind of take flock, but it's great because, again, you humanize what you do, and we understand it a little bit more, and you're a good dude, man. I wish you nothing but the best, brother.
Nothing, man. I look forward to talking to you guys in the future, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's been great. It's been great.
Thank you, Jesal. Appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah,
he was fun,
awesome.
man. He was fun. So
dude,
cool.
I was so excited to talk to him for a while. Me and him, we got introduced from a mutual friend, Jen Peros, who's an old writer. But she, as soon as we started connecting, we got on the phone and we just kind of hit it off. We came from the same kind of like mentality of an approach of doing journalism.
Yeah.
But like, again, we get excited about these stories. No one wants to talk to people like us. But I could have, honestly, I'm not even joking. I could have kept. I knew some of the answers, like how to get the stuff from the airport, but like I just wanted to.
But asking it so other people can know, I think is fascinating. And you know what? The paparazzi world is something that most people don't understand or don't know, but are curious about. So speaking to him, speaking to you, I think it kind of sheds light on this world that people don't know much about.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's got great stories, and again, some of the biggest stories in the world. You got to follow his Instagram. It's Views by Jesal. It's so fun. It's a fun follow. And again, some of the biggest stories you see out there is shot by him, and he does it in a good way, man. So shout out to him. Thanks for him for coming on the podcast. You could find this podcast, the video portion will be on YouTube. You can listen to this on, if you're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, we're all over it. Follow us on Instagram and all that stuff, and leave us a review. That's the best thing you do to support this podcast. You can find me at Adam Glyn, Glyn. You can find Dax Holt at DAXHOLT, and we'll see you guys later.